Was there any culture shock when you got to Japan?
Culture shock. I think the biggest culture shock would be when Japanese people make plans. So Japanese people, when it comes to making plans, they like to book things way in advance. So the next month, right? And because the culture of overtime is more of a thing in Japan, right? A lot of Japanese people wouldn't want to make plans on the weekday. They'll only want to make plans on the weekend. So if you have someone who books all of their plans in advance, generally all of their weekends for that month would be booked. So if you want to just hang out, hey, I got some spare time. Do you want to hang out this weekend? Sorry, I got plans. How about next month on the 22nd? And then you're like, huh? But that's so far away. What if something else happens, right? That's what you're thinking. But then that's how it happens. So people like to have a schedule here when it comes to arranging meeting up. And I feel like because of that, they can be less spontaneous when it comes to, going out with people. Everything has to be in the diary. So I guess that had an effect on me a little bit where I'll try and, make plans with lots of people, get it on my calendar. So I'll at least have things going on during the week. And generally, I think the foreign people could be a lot more flexible when it comes to meeting up because we're just used to that culture. However, there is actually a word in Japanese, like it's called futowaku ga karui, right? And that actually just means someone who is able to quickly make plans and get out as soon as possible, right? So it's an actual word for that. So it's very interesting, right?
They're like really, really highlighting those people. Like they're the different ones.
They're
Everyone
the
else does
difference.
this. Yeah.
Exactly.
So they book a month in advance, and then if you want to make plans like next weekend, they're already filled up. So not only are they booking in advance, but they also have something going every weekend. Like
Some
they're
people, right?
social people.
Yeah, I mean, some people could be very social in that regard, but I would say that they'll be very social with a very small group of people because they like to keep their circles large. So they'll be very social with a small group of people, or they'll generally just like to do things by themselves, right? Or have their own time, right? Like make some time for themselves. So it really depends. Of course, there are people who break this mold and then they can make plans in like, 1, 2 weeks in advance, or they'll be okay making a plan on the day if they have nothing going on. But I have noticed the people who would plan in advance are a lot more compared to the West, a lot more. With that, there's a lot more people who cancel as well. Because
Mm.
if your schedule is very limited, right? And if another plan comes out of nowhere, which is better, do you know what they might do? They'll cancel on you so they can go ahead with the better plan. And then sometimes they won't tell you the truth. They'll just say, hey, I'm really sorry. I was feeling a little bit sick. I'm really sorry. Something else came up. So because being very direct with the reason as to why you don't want to go is not really a Japanese thing because they want to avoid confrontation. So by avoiding confrontation, a little white lie is something what some people might do. I mean, not everybody, but some people are very direct. They're very honest. They're like, hey, look, I'm really sorry. Nah, something else happened with my family, etc., etc. Sometimes the excuses can be genuine, but other times you just have to read in between the lines and be like, okay, can't be helped.
That's interesting. It's like they're strict in that they want to plan really far in advance, but then at the same time, they're also flexible because they're willing to change the plans in the middle. It's kind of like two extremes a little bit.
It is two extremes, and that's one of the reasons which makes it so hard to make friends in Japan because,
Mm.
just arranging the schedule so you guys could actually meet is the tricky part.
How long have you been in Japan? I forgot to ask.
So I've been in Japan at this point for almost 2 years. So 1 month later, in April, it'll be 2 years.
Wow, okay. And do you have plans on staying there for quite a bit longer? Would you like to live in Japan like forever?
Yeah, if possible, I'd like to live in Japan as long as possible, if not forever. It's just, yeah, it's a place where, I definitely, you know, um, grateful for most of my growth up to this point, right? Because it really just brought a lot of things together and allowed me to just have a clean slate and start again.
What do you prefer about your day-to-day life in Japan in comparison to the UK?
That's a good question. I think everything's just convenient. Everything's clean, and a lot of places are just quiet, right? You'd go on the train, not many people are speaking. And if they are speaking, they'll speak at a manageable level. So you could just, you know, go on your day to day, just with a peace of mind, not worrying too much. And also a big thing would be the safety, right? Because Japan is, one of the safest countries in the world. And because of that, you'll see things that people would definitely never do anywhere else, right? Like you'll be in a cafe, the person next to you, Japanese person, they'll be on their MacBook, they'll have out their iPhone and maybe their wallet, right? And they'll be like, okay, screw it, I need to go to the toilet. So then they'll leave everything on the table, they'll get up, they'll go to the toilet, and then they'll come back. And then you'd think, well, wouldn't they have like a negative association with a foreign person sitting next to all of their stuff? But no, I guess like some Japanese people just have in their mind that you're in a cafe, this is not going to happen. And so I tried it once with my MacBook and it was still there when I came back. So I was surprised at that. So definitely safety is, one of those things. And also people, I really like, the people here, they're really nice, really different. And there's lots to learn from every conversation. So, that's another aspect of why I enjoy living here.
Yeah, I've heard that Japan, it's kind of a country of social rules a little bit, where there's certain expectations that people are held to. Like you're not going to steal things, you're not going to be loud on the bus or the train, and so people follow them, and they do that. Is it hard as a foreigner coming into Japan and having to learn what the rules are, like what's okay and what's not okay?
Because that's the thing. That's one of the things. Because there's so many social rules, it's actually impossible for you to know all of them. So because it's impossible for you to know all of them, there'll just come a point when you'll come across as rude and you would not even realize that, right? And I think that it can be difficult at times because of that. Because no matter how much you learn Japan outside of Japan, being in Japan will be a different experience. So,
right.
Yeah, I guess at first it was quite difficult, but over time, right, when you just immerse yourself in the culture, it becomes more obvious. And I know that sounds crazy, but it becomes obvious. You're in a situation, you read the room and you're like, okay, of course they'll do it like that, right? I guess one example would be like you're on the train and then you see that when it's busy, everybody wears their backpack on their front. And then you just think to yourself, why are they doing that? And then like, oh, so it doesn't get in the way of other people trying to go past behind them, right? It's a simple thing like that, right? Or, for example, when you're about to eat your meal, they'll give you like a little cloth, right? A little cloth to wipe your hands when you go into a restaurant. They don't tell you why. They'll just put it on the table. And then you see everybody out around you opening that cloth, just quickly cleaning their hands and sometimes their face and then putting that to the side and then continuing their meal. And then you'll be like, okay, so that's probably something that I should do when, I eat at restaurants or cafes, etc. Just all of these things, bit by bit, they just add up to kind of, expand your world and your understanding of Japan, I feel.